I wonder if I could plug my crock pot into my car. Hi, I'm Aileen. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I am Aileen. I'm a homeschool mom of 4 kids, ages 11, 9, 7, and 3. Today, I want to talk about eating in our homeschool, food, meals, how I manage and prep everything, and all of that goes along with it. Today's video is part of an open collab with Jessica at the Waldock Way and Abby from Rooted in Rest. So I'll link below the full playlist that you can go and watch, because there's lots of homeschool moms that collab every month and contribute videos about that chosen topic. So today is about homeschool lunch lady. What does that mean? Well, I thought I would expand on that and share what we do for breakfast, lunch, dinners, and snacks. And just give you some information. Maybe it's relatable for you, give you some ideas on how you can streamline food in your homeschool and make it easier for you. Let's start with breakfast. I don't cook a hot meal every school morning or every morning of the week. I strive for cooking a hot meal like 2 to 3 times a week. And so some of our favorite hot meals, I would say the number one favorite is sheet pan pancakes. I use the Kodiak Cakes Power, I think it's called Power Cakes Mix. I buy it in bulk at Costco, but you can get it at the grocery store. They have different flavors. I just get the regular Power Mix from Costco. And I do add in their protein options, which is swapping out the water for milk. And we add in 2 eggs. And I mix that up and pour it into a sheet pan and sprinkle it usually with chocolate chips. And we bake that in the oven. And I feel like it's a good mix of something sweet, so it makes my kids happy. They get to put maple syrup on it, but it's also got whole grains and protein in it. So it's win-win for me. So we do that pretty often. Other hot breakfasts that I make are like eggs to order. So some of my kids like fried eggs. Some of my kids like cheese eggs, which is scrambled eggs with cheese in them. So we do that probably once a week. And we also do eggs in a basket pretty often. Another oven-baked breakfast that I like to do that I actually will often, if I make it, I'll double it and put one in the freezer, is baked oatmeal. And the way that I like to do my baked oatmeal is like fruit on the bottom. So whether that's like frozen fruit, like frozen blueberries, or I'll peel and slice up some apples and put them on the bottom. And then I do my baked oatmeal mix on top of it. And so it's a nice combination of like protein and fiber and whole grains, I guess, and then getting that fruit in there as well. So those are my favorite hot breakfasts. Now, like I said, I only do a hot breakfast like 2 or 3 times a week, usually. On the other days, it's more like grab and go, not grab and go, but you get to choose what you want. And that usually looks like, my 11-year-old eating 3 bowls of cereal. Some of my kids like toast. My 7-year-old really likes to do Nutella toast. We always have like yogurts on hand. I often will eat a Greek yogurt for breakfast, bagels and cream cheese. We do the oatmeal packets that I'm starting to teach my kids how to make, or I'll make them for them. And for the breakfast, pretty much my 3 older kids make their own on those days. I just let them choose and they make it themselves. Now, my 7-year-old is kind of hit or miss. Sometimes she's just really hungry and she needs mommy to make it for her. And I absolutely will make her breakfast. And of course, my 3-year-old needs me to feed her. So I make her breakfast, and it's usually second breakfast because she wakes up with the sun and needs her milk and her Nana. And then we hang out for a while, and then she needs another breakfast. And then around like 10 a.m., she's asking me for chicken nuggets. And then I have to offer her something else to hold her off until lunch. But that's what we do for breakfast. Let's talk about lunches. Lunches is definitely fend for yourself territory. If we're at home, there are certain things that I keep on hand for my kids, and I let them just make what they want. So some of their favorites, we keep stuff in the freezer like corn dogs, Hot Pockets, chimichangas. Sometimes I'll get like French bread pizzas. And so whatever's in the freezer, they're welcome to make for themselves. We always have Dino chicken nuggets because that's my 3-year-old's favorite. hence the reason why she asks for chicken nuggets at breakfast, and then we hold her off until lunch. So I let them kind of pick and choose. They all know how to use the microwave. It's a way of me giving them some independence, but also taking it off of my plate because I'm trying to manage homeschooling multiple kids, also taking care of myself and making sure that I get a break, doing other things like managing the food blog that I run, working on my YouTube channel, doing things for myself. So one of the ways that I've done that and taken back some time for myself is encouraging them to be independent and eat what they want at lunch. Other things they make that are not just like frozen microwavable foods is my 9-year-old really likes making. She goes through phases. She went through a nachos phase where she would just do tortilla chips and melt cheese on top. Her new favorite is, we call them bean quesadillas. So she'll take like a tortilla and refried beans and spread it out on the tortilla, top it with some cheese and another tortilla and microwave that. So she makes that pretty often. Peanut butter and jellies. My son loves PB&Js and my girls love PB&N, which is peanut butter and Nutella. Again, I let them do the Nutella and they make that for lunch sometimes too. And then of course I'm feeding my toddler 3-year-old. I do have them have fruit. I don't worry about it that much because they are fruit kids and they eat fruit all day and I can't keep fruit in the house. Like it's just, we run out all the time. Like every other day we're out of fruit. So I do encourage them to have fruit, but I'm not super worried about it. Veggies are a little harder. Sometimes I will cut up like some celery and put peanut butter on there or do baby carrots, but I do depend on our dinners to really give them the bulk of their veggies. Speaking of veggies, one thing I forgot to mention about breakfast is one thing that my kids do really like that does have a veggie in it and made me remember is smoothies. So we do green smoothies. They don't come out green pretty often. And that is just a frozen fruit, usually blueberries. Sometimes we get like the mango peach big bag from Costco. Well, so we'll do a frozen fruit, bananas, baby spinach, kefir, water, and ice, and just blend that up. And my girls both know how to do that. My son's not as interested in cooking, so he hasn't learned as much. I'm really going to have to focus on teaching him how to make things other than PB&J. But so we will do sometimes add that as a breakfast item, or sometimes we'll make that as a snack. And for lunches, so I covered the out-home lunches, but we also kind of have a routine when it comes to out-of-the-house lunches. And that means two things. One is like field trips, meeting up with friends, that kind of thing. Well, not really meeting up with friends, but field trips. If we're going to have a field trip day, we pack lunches. And also on Fridays, my 2 middle girls go to an enrichment class all morning, and then I come with the other 2 kids and we meet them there and we do their book club together as a family and eat lunch. And so on those days, I pack their lunch in their lunchbox and they get a PB&J or a PB&N, whatever they want. And I'll do a veggie and a fruit and a couple of snack items because they do eat snack while they're there as well. And at the same time, while I'm packing those lunches, I make a lunch for my son, sometimes myself, and my 3-year-old. So those days are just PB&J days. With the exception of my 3-year-old, I'm really struggling to get her to eat any kind of sandwich. So oftentimes on Friday enrichment class days, I will heat up some chicken nuggets and put them in a thermos or wrap them in foil and put them in her lunchbox. It is what it is. I am making it work. I'm surviving. She gets home cooked meals other times and she eats it and it's protein. So, you pick your battles, especially with a 3-year-old. So that's what we do on Fridays. And then if we're going on a field trip, like for example, we went on a field trip to the zoo last week. We just do PB&Js. And I actually have my kids help. This time my son made everybody's PB&J. I had to make 6, so we had an extra. Sammy refused to eat hers, my 3-year-old, typical. We didn't bring anything else, any other like main item for her. So it was kind of like she chose not to eat it. It is what it is. And then I have my girls, like one will be in charge of packing fruit and one will be in charge of packing snacks. And we'll pack all of that into a giant lunchbox and bring that with us so that I'm not buying meals for 5 people on a field trip because that gets really pricey. I do occasionally get like a treat afterwards, like if they did really good and they were really well behaved and there's like popsicles or whatever, maybe I'll buy a popsicle, and that seems to be a better middle ground so that they get to have like an eating out item while we're out, but I'm also not spending $60 or $70 on, mediocre zoo food. So that's what we do for our days out. It's much less getting to pick and choose. It's just everybody gets a PB&J. And the snack items that I bring do tend to be prepackaged snacks. So like sometimes I'll get a box of chips, or if we have to do snack for like sports, like you take turns when your kid's on a sports team, or at least where we live, you do, and you pack snacks for all the kids for after the game. So I'll usually have leftovers. So I'll save those and put them up, and they're only for our out of the house days. Like we've had Rice Krispie treats, we've had um, little bags of chips like Doritos and stuff. We've done meat sticks, we've done beef jerky, that kind of thing, but I keep them up in my pantry and they are not day-to-day snack items because first, I don't really love all of the extra packaging. I'm already doing that with our frozen food items, so I'm trying to minimize that. But also, it just adds up. Like if I let my kids have free reign of all of our prepackaged snacks, which once upon a time we did, our grocery bill was just it was so much money, and grocery money or grocery costs are going up, and so I had to really scale back. And so the way that I'm doing that is snacks in the house are not the prepackaged snacks. Every once in a while I will make an exception, but in general you have to bag it up or put it in a bowl yourself. So snacks that we do, and I am very lenient with snacks. If my kids are hungry, they can have a snack. We have lots of fruit. We almost always have bananas, apples, cuties on hand. We do have an orange tree and a cutie tree, so we pick those when we can. And then we usually have some kind of refrigerated fruit like strawberries, blueberries, grapes. Usually I buy more than one at Costco or the grocery store, wherever I'm going that week. And we keep them and they can kind of eat them as they want, and they do, and they eat them all. We very rarely throw away rotten fruit. My kids eat a lot of fruit. So we do fruit, and then I try and keep some kind of a dairy item on hand. I cycle through like mozzarella cheese sticks, or I'll do those little orange Tillamook cheeses. Those are prepackaged, but they're really easy for my kids to grab and eat. And one of my kiddos doesn't like the string cheese, but she likes the orange cheese, but other kids really like the string cheese. So I try and alternate between those. I usually have cups of Greek yogurt on hand, and I will occasionally buy the Danimal smoothies, which my kids call milky drinks. They burn through them really fast, so I do not buy them every time, but I occasionally have those on hand too, and then they can eat them. As far as pantry snacks that my kids like, they really like goldfish. We buy goldfish a lot, and they just have to bag it themselves. I don't like buying the pre-bagged ones because they'll eat 3 of them in a day, and then, between 4 kids, they're gone. So I buy the pre-bag stuff. It's a little bit messier with the little ones making their own snacks. It's fine. I own a vacuum. It is what it is. So we do goldfish. Sometimes I'll get like Cheez-Its or graham crackers. They like peanut butter pretzels. So those are things that I kind of alternate through. I don't have all of those on hand at once. I usually get 1 or 2, and we try and make it last until my next Costco trip, which I go to Costco every 2 weeks. So that's what we do for snacks. Now, I do want to just say that there was a time in my motherhood journey before I homeschooled when I was home with little kids, and I was very active on my food blog, which still exists, but I more like am managing it and maintaining it versus creating new recipes all the time. I was creating everything from scratch. I was making homemade Hot Pockets and freezing them, and homemade breakfast burritos and homemade lunch burritos, and putting them all in my freezer. And I always had a stocked freezer, and I was really, really into that. And maybe I'll get back there someday. I would love to be back there. But at this season in my life, my focus needs to be on maintaining my relationship with my husband and my children, homeschooling my children effectively without being just a ragged mess all the time, and also doing things for myself. So that, is my alone time. That is doing YouTube because it's a creative outlet for me. That is just having a break at lunch. I oftentimes will make myself something and go sit in my room in this chair over here and say, Mommy's taking 10 minutes for herself. And I just sit in here, and maybe I'll scroll my phone, or I'll listen to my audiobook, and I'll eat my lunch, and I'll just and if my kids come, if they genuinely need me, okay, I'll help them. But I usually just say, I'm having some time to myself right now. And they respect that. They're used to it. And so, I'm giving myself that gift of teaching them to be independent. I'm cutting some corners. I'm buying frozen food. It is what it is. They're happy. They like what they're eating. And I'm getting some time to myself, which is important. I need time for myself too. So that's what we're doing. Maybe I'll get back to the homemade Hot Pockets one day. I do occasionally still do stuff. I've played around with sourdough and things like that, but it's not an all day, every day, everything from scratch life right now. And that is okay. And I also want to say, if you are making everything from scratch, good for you, mama. Good for you. You rock. It doesn't matter. All of our kids are fed, right? That's what matters. Okay. Now, I know this is like a lunch lady series, but I have to talk about dinner too, right? Dinner is like the constant dilemma for most of us. And right now we're getting ready. We're starting a new season of baseball. I have 3 kids playing baseball on 2 different teams. And that looks like right now games haven't started. So right now we have 6 practices a week. Luckily, some of them overlap, which is hard getting them to and from places at the same time across town. However, that means I don't have baseball every single night, which last year we did. So I'm grateful. So grateful for that. But those nights are busy. They're really hard to get my kids fed, especially when baseball games start, which is next week, and I'm going to have kids playing on Mondays from starting at like 4:30 and then another game at 7:30. So I'm literally not going to have time to come home and cook dinner unless I miss one of my kids' games. So on those nights, this is my plan. I have not executed it yet, but I was like brainstorming, doing my meal plan for the next 2 weeks and brainstorming with my husband. And I was like, there's an outlet in my car. I wonder if I could plug my crock pot into my car. So that's what I'm going to try. Not this Monday, next Monday. Well, this video will go up on Monday or on Tuesday. So the Monday after that, I'm going to try it. I'm going to make some chili in my crock pot recipe I've been making for years. So I know the recipe is good. I'm probably also going to make some cornbread muffins just from a mix. And I'm going to start it in the morning on Monday morning because we don't really have anything on the agenda until like 3:00. So we'll have enough time for me to do that and do homeschool and all of that. And then I'm going to bring it with me to the field and plug it into my car. And I already bought paper bowls and plastic spoons. And we're going to see if it works. And fingers crossed that it does not kill my battery. So TBD. If it's successful, maybe I'll do another video on crock pot meals you can bring in your car. Oh. Okay, so that's my plan for at least some of the baseball nights where we have 2 games that aren't at the same time, where we're just going to be there all afternoon and evening because my kids need to be fed. And last year we ate so much fast food and snack shack hot dogs, and some of that is okay. And I'm sure we'll still do some of that, but I don't want to do that and just that. Like my kids ate hot dogs or nachos from the snack shack like 3 or 4 times a week last baseball season. And it was just too much. And it was to the point where like we were like sick of it. Like it wasn't even fun anymore, So we'll do a little bit of that, but my plan is hypothetically on those nights, I'm going to bring a crock pot meal and or make sandwiches and bring them with us. And then what I have been doing lately for dinners on the other nights, I'm really trying to scale back our eating out. We got into a really bad habit of eating a lot of fast food and ordering like DoorDash, right? Which is so much money. It's so much money. We're trying not to do that. And so I'm cooking at home, and I've really had to shift my mindset from like cooking at home means making this huge elaborate meal to sometimes cooking at home means just making ravioli or Mexican, we call them Mexican pizzas, which is kind of like my daughter's bean quesadillas. I'll do like a tortilla with refried beans and cheese, and I cook it in the oven, and the tortilla gets all crispy, and then we add toppings like pico de gallo or whatever. It's actually really, really fast. Most of it is pantry items, and that's really fast and easy, and everybody likes it. So I sometimes will do that. I do Alfredo pasta, which I have a video on my YouTube for my Alfredo pasta. That one is really easy and fast. So I kind of am just going to be cycling through and have been cycling through easier meals and wrapping my mind around the fact that, like, in this season of life, I'm not going to make meatloaf and mashed potatoes or, like a big chicken casserole that takes me a really long time to prep. It's just not going to happen unless I have it in the freezer already prepped. So I'm really trying to just accept that it's okay to just make easy meals. Maybe it's scrambled eggs, just something. Get your kids fed. That is my goal. I do a lot of frozen veggies because I can cook them really fast. I love frozen broccoli that I can cook in the microwave, or sometimes I will drizzle it with olive oil and cook it in the oven, or like the mixed veggies that I can just cook on the stove in 5 or 6 minutes. We do try and add a veggie. We do a bag Caesar salad like once a week. My absolute favorite Caesar salad is the one from Costco because it has this like seasoning packet and it makes it so good. So we do that like once a week. So I do try and add in a veggie every time, but I'm just lowering the bar, lowering the expectations. And you know what? Now that I've like accepted that, and also accepted that I don't need to make such a variety, like I do make different things, but it's okay if I'm cycling through the same like 5 or 7 meals. I don't need to be constantly making something new. And that's been a really big mindset shift for me, just because I was so focused on my food blog for so many years. I was always testing new recipes, and I just like didn't have time to remake the same thing. Like I had to test the new recipe and I had to get it photographed and I had to make a video and all those things. And it's been really hard for me to wrap my mind around, like, no, it's okay. It's okay for us to have a rotation. I grew up with a rotation. Was it boring sometimes? Yeah, but there's a reason why my grandma and my husband's dad made the same like 5 or 6 things on rotation. It's because it's easier. It's easier to make a meal plan. It's easier to do your shopping. It's easier to like just quickly whip it out because you're so good at it. You don't need to reference a recipe every time. So I'm living in that world. I'm living in that world. And it's been probably 3 months, and it's so freeing. I don't dread making dinner anymore. I'm not stressed as much about the meal plan. I do still meal plan, and I do still have to make my shopping list, and I do like to have a little bit of variety, but it's so much less stress, and we're all fed and we're eating, and we're not eating out, and we're not spending hundreds of dollars on DoorDash because it's just too much money. It's too much money. They can't have my money anymore. I'm done with it. So anyway, that's it. That's my lunch lady video. Make sure that you check out the playlist of all of the other lunch lady videos. I know I can't wait to watch everybody else's and see what they do. Maybe I'll get some new ideas. And if you did like this video, I'd love it if you could give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time. Bye.